It's a new dawn. It's a new dawn. It's a new day. It's a new day. It's a new dawn. It's a new dawn. It's a new day. It's a new day. It's a new dawn. It's a new dawn. It's a new day. It's a new day. I'm free.
Eddie Nestor, no joke, and there's no jokes about it. Best podcast on the air, and it's a shame to live without it. Curtis Walker, slick talker, auto tune in every week. Boss lady, she's a vegan, so there's never any beef. Put up the tune! Eddie Nestor, no joke, and there's no jokes about it. Best podcast on the air, and it's a shame to live without it. Curtis Walker, slick talker, auto tune in every week. Boss lady, she's a vegan, so there's never any beef. Talk about the world's choices with black voices, giving platforms to the people till we're all treated as equal. They have special guests, they're never second best. Here to represent, giving golden knowledge, they're the treasure chest. Good vibes and real talk about the world we're in today. They have thought-provoking topics, always have something to say. Leave an impression in your brain, making this lockdown feel sane. Join three of the best and get the most out of your day. Eddie Nestor's no joke, Eddie Nestor's no joke. Every Sunday midday, everyone's in ship shape. Eddie Nestor's no joke, Eddie Nestor's no joke. Every Sunday midday, everyone's in ship shape. Eddie Nestor's no joke, Eddie Nestor's no joke. Every Sunday midday, everyone's in ship shape. Eddie Nestor's no joke, Eddie Nestor's no joke. Every Sunday midday, everyone's in ship shape. Hashtag no jokes. Hashtag no jokes.
Hashtag no jokes with Eddie Nestor and friends. The lockdown edition.
Eddie Nestor, no joke, and there's no jokes about it. Best podcast on the air, and it's a shame to live without it. Curtis Walker, slick talker, auto tune in every week. Boss lady, she's a vegan, so there's never any beef. Talk about the world's choices with black voices, giving platforms to the people till we're all treated as equal. They have special guests, they're never second best. Here to represent, giving golden knowledge, they're the treasure chest. Good vibes and real talk about the world we're in today. They have thought-provoking topics, always have something to say. Leave an impression in your brain, making this lockdown feel sane. Join three of the best and get the most out of your day. Eddie Nestor's no joke, Eddie Nestor's no joke. Every Sunday midday, everyone's in ship shape. Eddie Nestor's no joke, Eddie Nestor's no joke. Every Sunday midday, everyone's in ship shape. Eddie Nestor's no joke, Eddie Nestor's no joke. Every Sunday midday, everyone's in ship shape. Eddie Nestor's no joke, Eddie Nestor's no joke. Every Sunday midday, everyone's in ship shape.
Hashtag no jokes with Eddie Nestor and friends. The lockdown edition. The lockdown edition.
Hashtag no jokes. Hashtag no jokes. Hashtag no jokes.
It's a new dawn. It's a new dawn. It's a new day. It's a new day. It's a new dawn. It's a new dawn. It's a new day. It's a new day. It's a new dawn. It's a new dawn. It's a new day. It's a new day. I'm free.
Eddie Nestor, no joke, and there's no jokes about it. Best podcast on the air, and it's a shame to live without it. Curtis Walker, slick talker, auto tune in every week. Boss lady, she's a vegan, so there's never any beef. Put up the tune! Eddie Nestor, no joke, and there's no jokes about it. Best podcast on the air, and it's a shame to live without it. Curtis Walker, slick talker, auto tune in every week. Boss lady, she's a vegan, so there's never any beef. Talk about the world's choices with black voices, giving platforms to the people till we're all treated as equal. They have special guests, they're never second best. Here to represent, giving golden knowledge, they're the treasure chest. Good vibes and real talk about the world we're in today. They have thought-provoking topics, always have something to say. Leave an impression in your brain, making this lockdown feel sane. Join three of the best and get the most out of your day. Eddie Nestor's no joke, Eddie Nestor's no joke. Every Sunday midday, everyone's in ship shape. Eddie Nestor's no joke, Eddie Nestor's no joke. Every Sunday midday, everyone's in ship shape. Eddie Nestor's no joke, Eddie Nestor's no joke. Every Sunday midday, everyone's in ship shape. Eddie Nestor's no joke, Eddie Nestor's no joke. Every Sunday midday, everyone's in ship shape. Hashtag no jokes. Hashtag no jokes.
Hashtag no jokes with Eddie Nestor and friends. The lockdown edition.
Eddie Nestor, no joke, and there's no jokes about it. Best podcast on the air, and it's a shame to live without it. Curtis Walker, slick talker, auto tune in every week. Boss lady, she's a vegan, so there's never any beef. Talk about the world's choices with black voices, giving platforms to the people till we're...
Greetings and welcome to Hashtag No Joke. I hope you are well. I hope everything is good in your world. It's been a really, really difficult week to put together, actually, because not much has happened. It's been I'll just tell you something quickly, right? So we've been doing this for a number of weeks now. I put in more. So did a whole review, new music, and I worked hard. I stayed up last night and I put everything together. I didn't have anything to do today. But Jazzy B didn't know there were visuals, so I don't think he's coming on. And I think he's vexed with me. Paulette Randall is going to come on, but let's just see how that goes. Amina Taylor is in a bad place because she's failing her homeschooling. The only person I could rely on is the person who ain't got nothing else to do. Curtis Walker! Let's put this
present and correct, sir.
My brother,
present and correct.
I've had a morning.
Yeah.
I've had a morning.
I can imagine it. It's a stressful thing you're doing, man. Everybody's letting you down today.
Working
the world's against you. You're the only one who's actually got any work to do. You're the only one. Everybody else failing. You're the only true survivor, Eddie.
Yeah, you carry
You're
on.
The only true survivor.
I'm going to go there with you today. If you want to go to that dark place there, I'm happy to make that journey there.
No, I don't.
I remember one time I went there. Do you remember one time we did a gig? And we went to that dark place and you took a look at me and you said, no wonder nobody likes you. Remember that one? You remember that?
I think I said that to you more than once, but yes, I remember. Yeah. You're a dark individual. And I'm surprised none of the guests wanted to come and celebrate your dark individual self.
It's getting harder. It's getting
harder. It's not.
No.
Not
listen,
everybody's as technical minded as me, you know?
No, clearly. And you've made a journey. The Media Mafia has done a great job on you. Welcome to #NoJoke. Those of you who haven't been with us before, we come on of a Sunday and I stupidly try to fit a 5-hour show into 1 hour. It's because I've got trust issues. Don't say anything, Kurt. Don't. You caused a lot of problems in my house already today. I'd leave it if I were you. But it perhaps now won't be as long as we thought it was going to be. See? Because I built in a little contingency. Hopefully we're going to have Paulette Randall. I doubt whether we're going to have Jazzy. I'm sorry about that. Hopefully I can sort that out again. The boss lady's now talking to me. Yeah, so telling me off. So there's problems in my house, but there's always problems in my house, Curtis, you know. But I'm a bad man.
Talk to the boss lady because I've been following her on Boss Lady's vegan kitchen. And we
don't need to talk about that. This is not.
No,
this is
but
not
I just want to share
for that discussion.
I know. But since you've got to have a conversation with the boss lady, I'm just gonna let the viewers know that I've been trying that recipe, the cauliflower curry. I tried that last night, and it was delicious. I made a few changes, 1 or 2, because she said leave it in for 15 minutes. And it's a bit firmer, but I liked it really soft. So I left mine in for about 45 minutes. And I also added chicken instead of cauliflower. Just the subtle changes.
Just a little bit. Still,
just a little bit.
The same impact, though, okay?
Same curry. Yeah.
We got a lot to get in today.
All right, let's do it, man. Bring on the first guest.
No, she's not a guest. She's a panelist. She's been on here before, and I brought her on to bring some order. Super Mum, Amina Taylor, how are you? Broadcaster, all-round brilliant person. How are you, Amina?
Man, I'm being defeated by the technology gods today. I can only apologize.
No, don't worry. We're going to hang in there. I think however bad you are, Paula is worse.
Wow.
So you're going to be okay today. I want to talk to you about homeschooling. And one of the things that's been made clear to me is that by the number of executive producers that we've got now. We did a show almost exclusively about homeschooling last week, where the Prime Minister on the Sunday had said schools were safe, and then by the Monday he was closing the schools. But when I phoned you this week and you said Korea's just finished tennis, I thought, that clearly that's not You're working in a different world to the rest of us.
Wow. You know you're still allowed to go outside and play with a member of your household, Edward. All right?
You
Yeah.
asked the two ladies that went to take the little walk with the coffee, and then they got surrounded. They thought they were black. They got surrounded by the police. Remember that one? And Matt Hancock has defended that today. And I wish I was interviewing him. I'd have asked him how far the former chief assistant, chief advisor to the Prime Minister went to drive to test his eyesight in the first lockdown.
Would you also ask him which bit is his arse and which bit is his elbow? Because I don't think they seem to know the difference these days.
Okay. Well, that gives us a sense as to the flavour of today's show. We'll come to you, Amina. Dear, oh dear. Now,
Go on, Amina.
hold on a minute. My mum's downstairs praying, as she does every Sunday. And I'm going to pray now. I'm going to give it a big introduction because I don't know how long she's going to be on it for.
Yeah.
So way back when, I used to be in something called a young activist at the Royal Court. She was there. That was in the 80s. There's a guy called Danny Boyle there too. In the 90s, there was the Desmonds, which I popped up in, and there was the Real McCoy, which I popped up in. She was a producer on the Real McCoy, then worked with Danny Boyle on the opening ceremony of the Olympic Games, at which Curtis got a bring in for and was magnificent at. She's now doing Silent Witness, TV producer, theatre producer, and a mate, fingers crossed, technophobe also. Please welcome onto hashtag No Joke, Paulette Randall.
Hi. Hello.
How are you, Paul? How are you, Paulette?
I'm all right now.
Well, we can kind of hear you. So what we're going to do, we're going to talk about you and big you up because I don't know that your line is going to hold out. Tell us a little bit about how a young woman of Jamaican extraction brought up in Brixton turns out to be one of the country's leading directors and producers.
I think you answered the question, really. I was born in Brixton, and I guess at that time we were fierce, you know, and fearless. So you just thought, if I want it, I'm going to go and get it. So you did.
Well, there is a rumor going around, interesting enough. Let me just throw this at you straight away, that there is a bit in the 2012 opening ceremony with the nurses, with people apparently suffering some awful virus, that you guys foresaw what is happening now with COVID-19.
I don't know about that. Sorry.
Tell me about the opening ceremony.
I was on the dole, and I got a phone call from Danny Boyle saying, "Do you know who this is? Do you remember me?" And I was like, "Yeah, what you want?" And he said, I'm doing, you know, this opening ceremony. I said, yes. I said, what do you want? And he said, apparently I'm going to need some help. So I went in and had a chat with him, and then that was it. Yeah.
But so much of what we talk about here on this podcast is about inclusivity, about us being included. You played a major part. You know, so many people felt so proud about how inclusive it was. What were those conversations like?
I guess because I knew Danny, and I got to know very quickly the rest of the team. And remember, it took a year of my life doing that opening ceremony. The thing is, you have to be in the room, and then you have to open your mouth. Do you know what I mean? And
I do.
Yeah.
So often you haven't been in the room, Paulette. What was it like to be in the room and be heard?
I guess because my assumption was they needed my help, so they would listen to me. So it's just like, great, I can just get on and do my job for a change. You know what I mean? Instead of kind of having to second guess what people might be thinking or doing, or, you know. So yeah, it just meant that to get on with it. It wasn't easy. you know, there were still questions and a few complications, but you kind of expect that.
How proud did you feel when you saw it?
Incredibly, because I felt that it boosted the entire country, and it included us completely. You know,
Absolutely.
We had a little bit that, but there was a bit right that didn't end up in it. It was about sound systems, and so we had this band with all these big speaker boxes, and everyone dressed up like, you know, for the era. But the band was breaking down. It was so funny, so it never appeared in the stadium. But we tried.
No, you did. Let me ask you about inclusivity, because I remember speaking to Dame Doreen Lawrence and her being there and telling me the thing she was most proud of was Curtis Walker's involvement. Tell me how that came to be.
It was one of those things where they were looking for somebody to open the whole show, really. And they were going for all these big names, and you know, and I was saying, well, I think we need someone who's a Londoner for a start, and who is really funny. Somebody I consider to be very, very funny. And so after much, you know, you can go on, it's back at those meetings when names are suggested and stuff. And then if people don't know them, then it's an added fight that you've got on your hands. Well, fight, you know. Anyway, I kept saying, well, I think I've got the right one. I think I've got the right one. So I think, you know what, meet him. And Danny did. And, well, Curtis can tell you what happened after that. But, yeah. It's knowing, I guess, the battles to fight and when to keep going. And also, when you know in your heart that it's right, it's just a matter of time. So it just took us a little bit too close to for my money. But at least Curtis was, involved, and I was so proud of him. But you know, it was an amazing thing that he did. Amazing.
It was amazing. Absolutely fantastic. Thanks, P.
Oh, listen, anytime. You know that, darling, anytime.
So one of the things, and I've known you for a very long time now, one of the things I've always been impressed by with you is how you've been able, your powers of diplomacy are amazing. Is there a message that, because you're in challenging situations, and there's only one that I remember that just didn't, you know, which we won't talk about today, which I imagine you'll put in your memoirs. But is there a message that you can give us? Because lots of us are not really good. Amina's not particularly. Curtis is rubbish, and I'm the worst of all. Is there a lesson that you would give people about conflict resolution and diplomacy? Is there something that you could say that we perhaps should think about?
I think the only way I could answer that is that it's not just about me. And the minute that you just take the me out of it, then it becomes easier to deal with. It's so personal in a way. You know what I mean, Eddie?
all three of us are laughing now. Like, what is she talking about? Of course it's about me. Who else is it about?
And you go that I'm somehow above all of that. And so I am doing something that's going to benefit me, sort of maybe, but actually it's about other people. Then it becomes easier. Does that make any sense at all, Eddie?
Yeah, it does. It does.
It does to me, Paulette. It does to me, Miss Randall, because I'm more generous than Eddie. That's why it didn't resonate with Eddie, because everything's about Eddie. Do you know what I mean? But it resonated with me and Amina. We got that.
Right. So couple of quick things, Paula. The real McCoy. I remember you saying you went to Jamaica and there was a guy who approached you and said, "Hey, my size," right? And then you came up. People keep sending me these videos of Basil the Blocker. Why did you make me play that character? What is it about me?
I think you know the answer to that question. Well, I'm with you. It has to be you.
Tell us about what you're doing at the minute, Paula.
Okay, so I am in preparation for 2 episodes of Silent Witness. And I've got one more week going before we hopefully start shooting. I'm directing that, yeah.
And are you ready for the challenges of filming through COVID? Because that's going to be a thing.
Well, I've had a couple of experiences. So I did a block at Holby and went on and did a block in Liverpool on Hollyoaks. So everyone does it slightly differently. So, I mean, the basic thing there, you know, the 2 meter distancing and hand washing and keeping away from people. But now we're being tested each week. And, yeah, we just have to kind of, hopefully, make sure that we can find a way through this. It's, you know, it's tricky, but not impossible.
Paulette, have you had many online meetings?
I've had a lot of Zoom.
You see?
I hate it. I hate it. And if you know the struggle that Amy and I went through this morning, and when I say struggle, I mean, and poor Lisa, thank you, Lisa.
If you're going to get Paulette on this, you have to go around to her house and send the social media mafia around there because she don't have a clue. And let me tell you, you're doing 100% better than I thought you would. Because that Wi-Fi you got there, brilliant.
Thanks, Curtis. When I tell people that I'm only on WhatsApp because of him, that man, he forced me to join WhatsApp. So, you know, I'm screaming and kicking into the 21st century, Eddie. What can I say? So you know me.
Okay. Just quickly, Curtis and Paul are not brothers and sisters. I'm trying to read as many of these comments as I can. And the other thing is, were you there on the Super Saturday? Was that there was a day, wasn't it? Jamaica 1, 2, 3. Remember?
Oh yeah. The Friday.
Do you remember? Did you take any interest in the sporting activity at all, Paulette?
Well, listen, 2 things. Normally, sporting activities I watch from the television. But also, secondly, a friend of mine died the day after the opening ceremony.
Sorry.
And so suddenly, oh, listen, it's fine. At least we had her in our lives. So a really, really good friend of mine, Lynn, died. And so suddenly, you know, your focus shifted. And so it was all about, you know, sorting out the funeral and looking after each other. But I saw as much as I could. And because I am of Jamaican extraction, I'm boasty. So yes, I was watching as much as I could when we were involved, yeah.
Yeah, it's such a disappointing thing for me that I've got 2 Brixtonite and with Amina Taylor, 3 Jamaicans on the show today. The show has really let itself.
And the boss lady.
Really let itself. Yeah. Oh gosh, I forgot about her. Finally, Paulette, and thank you for doing this, by the way, because I know how busy.
Oh, you're welcome.
I don't know how difficult this is for you. Finally. Can you give a word of encouragement? Because the first thing you said, there's the thing that really tapped it. You know, I came from Brixton, so I wanted to be able to do anything I wanted to. But so many of the people I talk to feel limited about what they can do and what type of job is appropriate for them. Can you give a message to a young Paulette? Somebody's watching this right now and thinking, I want to do that. I want to be a sound engineer. I want to be a photographer. I want to be something. In this day and age today, when they're being told to retrain, give a word of encouragement if you can, please, Paulette.
Okay. I think, gosh, if I was talking to me back at, I don't know, 18, 19, you know, I went and did anything I wanted to do. So at 18, I went to drama school and people were like, what are you doing? Funnily enough, I met 4 other black women there at the same time who had obviously been thinking the same thing. I think it's just about finding out what it is that you want to do, and just finding whatever your route in, because it's always going to be different, especially now with this COVID thing. You know, I think the whole question of education and how we're being educated and how your future is being dictated is going to change. So I think if anything that you want to do, I think you just have to decide, I'm going to do it, and find a way to do it. And it means talking to other people, it means reading stuff, it means doing whatever you need to do, because it's a long time working and you need to be happy.
Well, in case I've never said it, I'm incredibly proud of you. You're an inspiration to lots and lots of people. Just actually, one of the things that we've discovered doing this, actually just being in the game as long as you've been, is in itself an achievement. Your sister is watching you now from Barcelona, yes. So God bless you, and thank you for coming on this. Yeah, and one day we'll do it. One day we'll do it properly. Yes.
Yeah. But just one thing that when all the Black Lives Matter was kicking off, and you started to get when you wanting to hear bits and pieces. What's your word of advice and all of that? And this is something that stayed with me most of my life. Really, is that as people, we mustn't be afraid. We must be brave enough to speak up. It doesn't matter if we're whispering. It usually comes across they think we're shouting, but actually, just open your mouth and speak your truth. And also that white people must be humble enough to listen. And
I think we've made a journey. I think we're making a journey. I feel it.
Yeah, we are, absolutely. But more and more, the more that we just say, hang on a second, no, that's not right. Or it's me, no, really, or no, I think the better it is.
I think so. But, so many of us don't have your diplomacy. So it's great to have you on here because it's not just about me, is a good thing for all of us to think about. Paulette, Randall, thank you so much for coming on to #NoJoke. It's a pleasure and an honor to have you on with us. Look after yourself, my darling. I'll see you soon.
I will. I love you both so much. And please kiss Lisa for me.
All right, I will.
Bye.
Yeah, Curtis, do you think I covered it there? It kind of worked, didn't it?
You did very well, but you made her get all serious and scared. You went in like a proper interview. She wasn't up for that.
No, she wasn't. She wasn't.
No,
but
man,
she needs a Jack Daniels to do it properly.
Yeah,
Paulette's got a story about everything. Now, Amina,
you
listen.
never spoke to her about Death in Paradise. That one's a good story. She did Death in Paradise as well.
Did she do it? Did she get you on that one? Have you done it yet?
No, never. And if I couldn't do it while Paulette was directing, you've done it, have you?
Yeah, I think I watched it the other day. I think there's all kinds of wrong about the show, but I did it and I loved it, and it's a great 10 days with 1 day's work.
Where were you filming?
Martinique.
Okay.
So I want them. In a minute we're going to talk about Joe, but I want them to make the detective a black guy. Then I would really love.
Never going to happen.
It isn't.
Never going to happen. No way.
Amina, look, you can't just keep coming in and out of my life, all right? You're in there for the longer. I am hard work, but I'm worth it, baby. Have you heard about Joe Martin, perhaps, being the next Doctor Who properly, like them giving her the series here? Have you read that rumor, Amina? Okay. Amina? Oh,
Amina.
That would be awesome. That would be absolutely awesome. Oh. That would be awesome, Eddie. That would be awesome.
Lovely.
Right.
Good. And just to the Death in Paradise stuff. New series. What did they do to the theme song?
Yeah. Boss Lady is going to have to sort you out, Amina.
I don't know what they did to the theme song. I heard it. What did they do to the theme song? She said, Eddie.
Oh, is that right?
I don't really watch the show. Since you were in it, I stopped watching because I realized they've lowered the standard. And if Eddie's in it, must be right.
Talking of lowering of standards, well, we saw Amina out, right? I'm going to get the boss lady on in a minute, but before I get the boss lady on, we had 80,000. We got to the figure of 80,000. Hospitals are jammed, children are out of school. We're in our third lockdown, and yet the single most important thing happening in the entire world. And please, I want you to comment, right? I didn't introduce the show properly. I want you to comment. I want you to get involved. This platform is about you interacting with us. We'll get as many of your comments on and as many of them read as possible. If there's a question, a discussion that you'd like to have, let's go for it. But I've got to tell you, the single most important thing in the world, right? And even in a time where you think that there is nothing that this man is incapable of, even in a time when you think you're hardened, you're resolved, you're fully expectant, I don't think any of us expected this. So we put a few clips that Steph did for us today, put a few clips together, just in case you've been living on planet Zod and you haven't seen what happened at Capitol Hill with Donald Trump and the mess that America is in right now. Take a look at this.
We will stop the steal. I know that everyone here will soon be marching over to the Capitol building to peacefully and patriotically make your voices heard.
Look at this shit. If this was black people, these would be dead bodies.
No one can tell me that if had been a group of Black Lives Matter protesting yesterday, they wouldn't have been treated very, very differently.
In calling for this seditious act, the President has committed an unspeakable assault on our nation and our people. I join the Senate Democratic leader in calling on the Vice President to remove this President by immediately invoking the 25th Amendment. If the Vice President and the Cabinet do not act, the Congress may be prepared to move forward with impeachment. That is the overwhelming sentiment of my caucus.
The votes for President of the United States are as follows. Joseph R. Biden, Jr. of the state of Delaware has received 306 votes. Donald J. Trump of the state of Florida has received 232 votes.
Wow. Well done. Nice the video to put together. What?
Yeah,
what a
she's done a great job. Let's see if we can get Amina in. I mean, we're battling the technicals today, but you know, I think these are the days that are sent to test us. Curtis, I mean, let's start on that. What Boss Lady said to me actually was a really. So I came home from work, and for a start, it's unusual that she's up. But she said she found a juxtaposition between the armed guards when it was Black Lives Matters and almost just come in, wipe your feet, and it was like a trigger. The video of them opening the gate. Yeah, it was like a trigger for her. Selfies with police officers. Just give me your initial thoughts, and then we'll break it down into sections.
I think shock initially that they were allowed to get so close to Congress. I was, because you know there's conspiracy theories. It was set up from before. You couldn't, as any other campaign, couldn't have marched and got that close to the building without some kind of firearms being presented. Do you understand what I mean? There would have been army in front of him. He has incited that. Trump. He is like a tenant that won't leave the house in the condition they found it in. He is determined. When they go to the White House, they're going to have to look for excrement in all of the places he's put it. He is that kind of person. And then when you think back 4 years ago when Britain was complicit in trying to invite him over, he's not that bad, he's not a racist, he's misunderstood. All of that rhetoric that was going on 4 years ago when those who knew this man was mentally unstable and should have been given some help in that regard, much less running for president. And yes, the statement that if it was black people marching on that place, they wouldn't have made it into Washington. Full stop. There would be bodies everywhere. And you've let those people walk in mash up the place, and walk out. Job done. They've all gone home with their selfies and their little video clips looking like heroes in their redneck village. And make no mistake, when Trump leaves office, if he eventually gets out, he will start up his KKK career in a bigger way. Look for the wizard. It will be him. They had an opportunity to wear a mask and go and do their thing, and they could have put on their hoods and done it. In a time of COVID, you just understood them wearing their white hoods.
Are you okay?
Anyway, no. We're not
going to do that. Kurt, we're not going to do that. Let me tell you, right? And I've written her name down. They took me to a dark place, the place that I thought I'd left 4 or 5 years ago, where this woman, former armed services, Ashley Babbitt, right? And there's all sorts of how could she be shot, and it's terrible. And I went to a dark place, Curtis. I went to a place that, as a father,
did you see her video on the way to the...
Yes, I have seen the video.
Right.
And I was going to put it on. I decided I was not going to put it on because I don't want to be that guy. But in my head, I was like, what is she doing there? What is she doing in that house? But I don't want to be, but that doesn't mean that she
heard her motivation for going. And a lot of them, if you hear their rhetoric, it's fighting, it's war, we're fighting for our country. In war,
I don't want to be like that, Kurt. I know
you don't. I just made a statement. You don't have to go to a dark place, Eddie. It is what it is. And we understand, my brother. We understand. But there's no reason you should have showed that video.
No.
Let people see who she was.
They'll find it. They know her name. If they want to see it, they'll find it. But I have to look after myself. Can we see if there is any quality for Amina? Now I'm going to keep trying because Amina is one of the primary broadcasters, one of the people who follow this day in and day out. She'll be able to give us an insight into it. We've just been defeated slightly by the technicals today, but we'll push on. So let me, for the purposes of fun and balance, let me challenge you a little bit, Curtis. Here is a man, right, who had 10 million more people vote for him in 2020 than in 2016. There's only ever been one person that's had more people vote for him, and that's the person who beat him in this. Isn't the real villain in all of this the fact that now we have seen that the power is not with the president of the United States? The power actually lies with people on social media platforms because they've taken him off it. Now he doesn't have a voice. And so they have silenced the most powerful man in the world has been silenced by Twitter.
Hasn't been silenced. They took him off for 2 days and he's back on now. He was allowed back on.
Permanently, he is not back on, Curtis.
He's permanently excluded from Twitter.
Permanently excluded from Twitter.
Okay, well that's good. That's the way it should be.
Yeah, but
no, because if you're a terrorist and you're inciting terrorism, you wouldn't be allowed on Twitter. Am I right? And that's exactly what he was doing. He was inciting terrorists to attack Congress.
How did he incite terrorists?
He said, I'm sure you'll be marching. You heard the words that came out of his mouth and also out of his tweets.
What, he didn't say break into the chamber, go and sit down on Nancy Pelosi's chair.
He invited them to come down. What do you think was going to happen? They were going to come down, have a cup of tea and walk away? These are very, very ignorant and angry people. They're upset. And that's the way they came to Congress.
Eric Gardner got killed for selling individual cigarettes. Remember the big fella on the floor? I can't breathe, right? We've got a woman 4 years ago, if my memory serves me right, who was shot outside Capitol Hill for doing a U-turn. A black woman, right? Yeah. We've got a man who we're all here for, who had a knee on his neck and was killed in broad daylight because he had a forged $20 note. And these people can walk up in at a place there, the seat of their democracy, and do foolishness. And then
turn and walk back out. Walking back out was the shock for me.
Amina, we're being told that
sorry, Amina.
I'm just trying to bring her in where I can, Kurt. Yeah. Please forgive me. Amina, we're being told the FBI is vigorously and ruthlessly searching for these people. Talk to me, Amina. Just not going to work, is it? All right, we tried. So I always want to believe that we tried. I'm sorry about that. Let's get Boss Lady in and get some of those. Me and Curtis can go on with this one for a very long time. I think you're probably taking that. Boss Lady.
Hello. Hello, Boss Lady. Looking good, girl.
It's a guy show today, then.
No. Love the backdrop.
Oh, I'm going the right way. Thank you. Hello, everybody. Loving the comments. Please, please, please share the show. Tag people in. We need to get more people watching. There was a lot of love for Paulette. She's an inspiration. Someone's son filmed the opening ceremony. A great achievement what she's done. But most of the comments are coming in about Trump. Everybody has an opinion on that. Ida says, no surprise, that man is dangerous. Yvonne says, barbaric, aggressive, and unacceptable and disgusting behavior, and they got away with it. Sonzi says, what an embarrassment. Whatever you felt about the US before, they were seen as a leader of the free world, and now he has made them look weak and a laughing stock. Denise says, black people would have been shot on the spot, no questions asked. Yeah. And Alison says, I have said this before, the KKK hold the keys to the big house, and last week they opened the door to their relatives.
Exactly. Well said.
Thank you. Keep your comments coming in. Don't forget to like, hashtag, and share. And a big up to our sponsors as usual. CMAR, a design engineering recruitment company, and Alison Delaney from Little Bird. It's a gold standard company helping individuals and charities to fulfill their full potential. And our big sponsor from Lewis Mastermind. Watch his show later. I think it's at 4 to 7. Is that right,
Yep.
Eddie?
That's right.
Correct.
Here's a little clip. Please make sure you support him.
www.thelegendarymastermind.com for uninterrupted stream. Go and get something quick.
You hear the iron, that minister. Don't let nobody style you. Mash it up flat, tell me pick up something. Anything, don't tell me to grab something. Anything, I just want to pick up something. Anything, watch how I go grab something. Anything, don't tell me to run with it. Run with it. Run with it. Pick up something, start to run with it. Run with it. Run with it.
Run with it, dearly.
See you later. Keep the comments coming in. Bye-bye.
Yeah, listen, thanks so much, Boss Lady. And Boss Lady, see if you can take Amina out, put her back in. I really want to keep trying. That's kind of, you know, it. It'd be lovely to get a female perspective, although it doesn't stop people at home getting involved. Please put your comments in. We talk a little bit about Donald Trump before we bring on a very special guest today. One of the events that really did shape my life, certainly through the 80s, and not enough people know about it. A lady called Sherry Gross. We'll be talking about her very, very shortly. But just to tell you, look, clearly we're in the middle of lockdown 3, right? And we will talk about that later on. Any help that you can give us would be greatly appreciated. Please forgive me, Curtis, for what I'm about to do. We saw Curtis in Birds of a Feather, and I think we saw Curtis in... yeah, we did see you. We loved you. We love you, man. We saw Curtis in Birds of a Feather, and we saw him in Mo's show, Black, British and Funny. But, you know, there are 3 million people in and around this country who've been forgotten. Many of them are artists, singers, dancers, performers. And, you know, I've got to put my hand up. I'm not affected by this lockdown in the same as most of my artist friends, because I have another job. I work at the BBC 5 till 8, Monday to Friday. But there are a number of people who've got involved with this project in order to help us make it better. And I know we're being failed slightly by the technicals today, but certainly it looks better, it sounds better, the content is better. And if there is any help that you can give us, I would truly appreciate it, because I would love to keep this going through the lockdown. We have a GoFundMe page, which Robbie G has kindly help us set up. We have also a way that you can wear the t-shirt, which I'm wearing, Boss Lady is wearing, and so is Curtis. Or you can become a sponsor in the way that Little Bird, SEMA, or Mastermind have. So, as I say, in order for us to keep it going, I'm surrounded by people who are not eating, if I'm honest with you. And if we can do something to help people, then I would truly, gratefully appreciate it, and we'll be able to keep this going a little longer. So, Curtis, what I heard this week in relation to Trump, and there are lots of your comments coming in, he has been banned. He can post under the auspices of POTUS, President of the United States, but he did post and it was taken down. Mike Pence will attend the inauguration of Joe Biden. So the vice president, I think he's going to be made a scapegoat for all of this now. They're going to absolutely hate on him.
Yeah.
But
if Trump turned up, do you think people would just boo? Is that not protocol, or is that what he's worried about, or is he just that much of a child? You know, because out of respect, dignity, all the things we know he never possessed. But he's how horrible is this man?
Yeah, but his whole modus operandi was to behave in a way that we hadn't seen before, to do things that we hadn't seen, to say things that we hadn't heard, and to expect that he would not continue this in his moment. You know, I remember somebody saying to me once, if you really want to find out what a person is like, don't give them what they want. And when you don't get what you want, that's when the real thing. I mean, if we do have any Americans, and I imagine we do have watching, I'd love to know what you think. I'm hearing there's a group of lawyers waiting for him in New York. Impeachment, they're looking at that as well. If there are any thoughts that you have about it, then please let me know.
I just want security to physically walk in there, pick him up by his collar, and just throw him out. Just throw him out the building. I would love to see. You remember the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air? When Jazzy Jeff used to get thrown out every week, I want him to be thrown out the White House, just like Jazzy Jeff was removed from the Bel-Air mansion.
A couple of things I wanted to put to you, Curtis, just quickly before we move on with this one. Trevor Noah did a fantastic sketch recently. Remember, Trump referred to African countries as shitholes, riven with disease, discontent on the streets, and a corrupt leader. Where is the shithole now? That's one that Trevor Noah said, which I thought was quite good. And another comment which I read that I thought was quite good and very naughty. It's about the way that you describe the people. I'd love to know, people at home, how do you describe those people who marched on Capitol Hill? Because certainly the president was, talking about them as though they were patriots. And a commentator I saw, I did like this one, vanilla ISIS terrorists. Think about it. Vanilla. I thought that was very good. I just wanted to bring that one to the
But I'm kind of enjoying the language that a lot of the media are using and calling it terrorism, domestic terrorism, because that label 2 years ago would not have been used, and that is exactly what it is. And in part of the American is to defend against terrorism abroad and home. So they have to prosecute those people for acts of terrorism, not for vandalizing, not for breaking glass, for terrorism. Send them all to Guantanamo for terrorism. That's what they need to do, Eddie.
Illegal combatants. That was the term.
Exactly.
In the orange jumpsuit.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so a couple of things before I go to my author. I mentioned a book last week, and people have been asking me about it. When I accosted Martin Lewis on the tube, this is the book. It's about informing young people about money, compound interest, because the biggest trick that they have perpetrated is to convince all of us that the bank is your friend. The bank is a business. It's there to make money. They are not your friends. So understand your money, which is why it would have been great to have Jazzy B on, because Jazzy B is not Brock. Yeah. Jazzy B created a movement in Soul to Soul that was something I don't know that we've seen, because he had a moment and he used that moment and he's still living incredibly nice. I've got to phone him and see if he still wants to take my call. Amina, you haven't been talking to me at all today. How are you?
Oh, man, you don't know how much heartache it's brought me to listen to you guys on something that's so dear to my flipping heart. And can't say nothing.
We'll go back. Keep talking.
Just briefly to just wrap things up where we are on the Trump situation. Trump might be going, dragging, kicking, and screaming, as Curtis says, the tenant who don't want to leave, but Trumpism is not going anywhere. We have a guy who was unsophisticated, who had his gaffes, who did the old grabbing them by the peas. But the next guy who comes under that guise is not going to present like that. He's going to be smooth. He's going to be sophisticated. And we're going to be living in the midst of something far more dangerous than a few quote unquote rednecks trying to get in with their Confederate flags. What we're seeing is two Americas very clearly on display here, gentlemen. And unless the next administration addresses this clearly and decisively, this is only the beginning of the end.
But when you say the end, what do you mean by when you say the end? The beginning of what is the end? What's the outcome?
The end is this facade of America as a democracy, exporting democracy. Somebody made a very clear comment to me the other day that, wow, there's been another American-backed coup. And then someone says, yeah, but this time it's in America. People who've watched world politics are used to American manipulations having an effect on the street, the parliament of these countries, and within some of the population of these countries. We're now just seeing where manipulation, where talking out of two sides of your mouth gets you. Because on one hand, you have these very powerful, rich men saying to these people who believe them, it was stolen from us. They've misrepresented your voice. They've taken something that very dearly belongs to you and woke these people up into such a frenzy that was a natural conclusion of that. If you feel something has been stolen from you, has been taken from you by these guys who don't mean you any good, what would you, Eddie? You'd sit down? You'd sit down, Curtis? No, you'd want to defend what you think is tyranny in action. Some of these guys believe what's been told to them by people who are rich, power-hungry grabbers, who look at Ted Cruz, backsliding so quickly when he was in the chamber creating this very mess. This is
the thing that gets me every time. The hypocrisy and the lack of memory we have as a society. And we're willing to forgive people. Even on that debate, 8 congressmen voted to say the election was illegal. Even after that riot that took place, that disgraceful thing that took place outside Congress and inside Congress, 8 politicians still voted that Trump was telling the truth and the election was false. And those 8 will still be in the system. That's the scary thing to me.
Normally, we'll have to read the biographies and the autobiographies decades after, when people reflect and go, listen, I always thought he was harmless. I didn't recognize that things could have been taken so far. We're talking about see it play out in real life. I hadn't even got home yet before the backtracking started. Oh, I didn't know that's what he meant. I mean, the president took it too far. You are enablers of this man.
All of them.
Stop,
all of them. They're complicit in anything that happens.
Please stop. I'm supposed to finish in 5 minutes, and the most exciting thing about the show hasn't even happened yet. So please, keep your comments coming in. I'm glad to have you, Amina. Thank you very much.
Welcome back,
Amina. For bearing with us. I'll just tell you quickly and finally on Trump. Anybody who studies history like I do, populism, we're in a moment because it is too close to 1930s America for my liking. Watch this, because those people have to go somewhere and have to be represented by someone. So we'll see how that goes, and we'll see how far away we are, because when they cough, we catch a cold. So the rumor goes. Look, please keep your thoughts on your comments coming in. This is a story of arguably the most important yet least known events in modern British history. It's both inspiring and enraging. I didn't say that, but somebody I hope will be a future guest on the show. Carla said that. It's about a story that would break all of our hearts, really. The louder I will sing. In case you don't know the story, here's just a little taste as it was encapsulated upon Channel 4 a little while ago.
Mary Gross's name is etched into the history of Brixton. She was crippled by a police bullet in 1985. Riots erupted, and the area was again in flames for the second time in 4 years. The catalyst was a nighttime raid on the Grosses' family home. Armed police came looking for one of her sons on suspicion of armed robbery, but it ended in disaster. An inspector shot Mrs. Gross by accident when entering a bedroom. Her son Lee, who was 11 at the time, was in the room.
Well, he was in the room and he's on the show now. Lee Lawrence, award-winning author. Welcome to #NoJoke. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you. It's my pleasure.
How are you, sir?
Good about the award. I feel good about the recognition. I feel good about all the love and support that I've been getting since I've published the book. And it's exceeded my expectations, basically.
It's not a place, and I did ask you if I could play that piece of audio of your mum. It's not a place that many of us can imagine being, and as a child. Take me back to that day in 1985, because you remember it quite well, don't you, I would imagine?
Like it happened yesterday. It's one of those things that is etched in my mind. So it was on the 28th of September on a Saturday morning, and I was asleep in my mum's room, and I heard a noise which disturbed me. I woke up, saw my mum walk into the door, and I thought, whatever it was, mum's taking care of it, and I laid back down. And then I heard another loud bang this time, and I jumped up, and I just saw my mum laying on the floor, and this man with a gun in his hand shouting at her. And I just heard my mum in a very faint voice say, "I can't feel my legs, I can't breathe, and I think I'm gonna die." And at that point, I just got hysterical, started screaming and shouting. And my initial reaction was, I wanted to attack this person who was standing there with the gun in his hand because he hurt my mum. So I was screaming and shouting and running at this man, and then he just turns around with the gun and points it at me and says, "Someone better shut this effing kid up," as if, or if not, he's next, kind of thing. In that moment, my dad, I saw the fear on my dad's face because he was in the room at the time, and he used to be in the army. So I thought, my dad's scared, this must be serious. And he got me to calm down and ushered me out of the room. As a result of that, just to kind of speed things up a bit, my mum was shot in her shoulder. The bullet hit her spine, came out of her hip, and she was permanently paralyzed as a result of that, and spent the next 26 years confined to a wheelchair and eventually bedridden. The officer who shot my mum at the time, there was a criminal trial 2 years later at the Old Bailey, and he was totally acquitted. There was no disciplinary, there was no nothing. So there was a sense of just no justice. This just happened, and they got away with it, and it never sat well with me. And the only time we got the opportunity to revisit what happened and establish the truth was in 2011 when my mum passed, and there was an inquest as a result of her death.
And a complete and total apology. I mean, I know in the book, as I said, it's the last book that I read of 2020, that you said two major events which changed your life. That one in 85 and your mum's passing. What, can you distinguish between your mum's passing and that ruling that, they were wrong? Because the bullet and the remnants for the bullet were a contributory factor in her passing, weren't they?
Absolutely. I mean, what happened on the day? We were there and we was witness to it. I was 11 at the time. My youngest sibling was 8. There was another sister of mine aged 13. My sister was 21, and my mom was babysitting 2 children, a 7-year-old and a 2-year-old at the time as well. So the house was full of children. Now, instinctively and intuitively, I knew this was wrong just by the aggression of the officer who shot my mum and the lack of compassion that he showed, that he just shot an innocent woman in front of her children. And now you've got these traumatized children and he's not even showing any remorse. So I knew this was wrong when it happened. So when my mum passes and we have the inquest and we get that result, it's like someone being in jail for life for a crime they never committed, and finally getting the recognition that you was innocent, because you know all along that you're innocent, but no one else believes you. And this is what happened for us. We knew it was wrong all along, but it was like my mum was just shot in the line of duty, just by accident. So to get that acknowledgement that this wasn't an accident, this was a result of racism. This raid should have never have happened in our home, and this officer was not in a suitable condition to even. He was the leader of that raid, and he had been drinking the night before. So these are all the things that had happened that had never come to the forefront that came out in the inquest.
I think it's a brilliant book. I think I interviewed you on the radio and I told you that it took me to a place, of hope. It's got everything in it, it's a horrible story, but it is actually a story of hope. Let's go to a couple of uncomfortable questions, shall we? So let's go for the one that you and I nearly fell out on when we talked on the radio. Curtis, you like this. So you know me. I say to him right on the radio, do you blame your brother? Because that's me, right? I mean, I'm going to the story. What's your relationship like with your brother? Hear him to me. Me and my brother are amicable. I was like, what are you talking about your brother? Amicable is not all. So let's go to that now. Because I've got to say,
amicable. I think that speaks volumes, though, doesn't it? They're amicable. That means they don't really get on.
Of course, it means that to me, but I want him to say it. Because that's what we're dealing with, the truth. I mean, I often think about, if I'm honestly, I think about the McCanns, right? So if you think about the McCanns, can you imagine the conversation? Because one of them had the idea to go for a drink, and one of them had the idea to leave the baby them in the room, and one of them went, shoot, you shot. Yeah, everybody else is doing it. And that must govern their whole relation. I mean, I don't know what that does. So how are you and your brother?
Okay, so let's deal with that. So firstly, I just want to say an incident like this and the trauma and that takes place and the sort of affects the whole family dynamics. So as children growing up, and especially with a mum like that we had, my mum was a very, very strong person. And the way she dealt with this was she just saw it as life has to continue. She's got to continue being a mother. She's got to live. She's got to survive. She's got to find a way to put food on the table. And it was business as usual in the best way that she could. So we had to follow. So we had no sympathy for each other as siblings growing up, because we're saying, wow, if mum can be shot, mum's disabled now, mum's in pain every day, and mum's dealing with it like that, who are we to complain? So
yeah, you're right, of course, but the police wouldn't have come to the house if you weren't doing your foolishness. That must have come up, surely, because they weren't looking for you, were they?
And I'm not saying that it didn't come up. All right, so let's look at that. We didn't talk about this incident, so that's the first thing. We never spoke about it as a family. We never discussed it. It was almost like it happened, but nobody really spoke about it. It was a taboo subject, right? So whatever feelings anyone had were kept inside. Most of the time, they were suppressed. Now, my personal feelings around this, and I said it I conveyed this on the show, was I don't blame my brother, because my brother wasn't in the house, and it was a police officer who shot my mum, and I saw that for myself. So I blame that police officer. I blame the police, the Metropolitan Police. They are fully responsible for the shooting of my mum.
Okay.
And let's call it what it is, the murdering.
No, that's fair enough.
I accept that. I accept
that. But how? Sorry, Eddie. How? You say you held it all in and you hold that in. That's got to be quite unhealthy now, right?
There's a lot of us that's doing it, though, Curtis. Talk to us about the therapy.
Okay. So just to clear up that bit about my brother, my issue, as I said before, was more about how my brother dealt with it after, and his way of dealing with it was being distant. So we didn't see my brother; he wasn't really around. Yeah, so my resentment built up because I felt like, okay, we're left here to pick up the pieces, and I'm doing something that maybe you should be doing as the person that they were looking for, not the person that was responsible for my mum being shot.
I understand the
right?
difference, honestly. Lee.
So that was the issue for me really growing up, and he's aware of that. In terms of the trauma and how that manifests itself. So I'll just talk about me because I don't want to speak for my sisters because that's their personal
Speak for
experience, right? But for me, how it manifested itself is through school. I was only 11. I just started secondary school, and I went from being this really shy, timid boy at primary school and at the beginning of secondary school. So I was only my second week in secondary school to this person now who was a bit of a bully, had these outbursts, had this really bad temper, and no one really understood why I used to act in the way that I did. Not even I understood it. And the way they dealt with me was just like a troubled child. So therefore I would constantly be in this hut, which was a unit for children who misbehaved, constantly in detention. At times they were thinking about putting me into a special needs school because of the trouble that I was giving at school. So my whole school was interrupted. And the only time I really saw that I got attention was when I was misbehaving. So then I just kept doing that because I wanted the attention. I wanted to be seen. And I saw school as a place where I could act up as a kid. Because when I'm at home, I've got to be an adult. I'm a young carer. I've got responsibilities. So I'm like a young man at home who can't do anything wrong, but I'm going to school and I'm expressing myself at school in the sense of just getting up to mischief, getting myself into trouble, picking on other children and so on and so forth.
Can I just quickly, hello again, Lee. What was the response from your nearest and dearest when they got to read your words? Because if you're saying some of this you didn't even manifest, and now you've got it all out there, I mean, there must be people close to you who are quite shocked at what you had to say.
Absolutely. There's, funny enough, Paulette, who was on earlier, she is the cousin of one of my best friends who we went to school together, Stephen McKay. And, he's read my book and another friend of mine, Wayne, we all went to school together. And they're saying to me, like, Lee, all this time we went to school together. I've known you all my life and I've never, known all of this. They never knew all of this was going on in the background whilst I was growing up as a child. So it's opened up a lot of people's eyes. People that thought they knew me really well are discovering that, wow, maybe we didn't know you as well as we thought we did. We definitely didn't know what you was going through.
Some sense of maybe we don't deal with trauma the way we're supposed to?
Absolutely, 100%. That's what I took from your book. I mean, sorry.
So, did you want me to speak?
Yeah, I was just asking about what this story is telling me is that maybe even not just as an individual, but as a people, we don't deal with trauma perhaps in a way that will help us heal earlier than we could have.
So as a community, we deal with trauma like how we deal with, let's just say a child with disabilities, right? Severe disabilities. You might have a friend and they've got a sibling who's got a severe disability, and you won't ever see them. They'll be hidden upstairs in the attic somewhere. And it's almost like the same thing that we do around trauma. We hide it because, one, we don't understand it enough. So there needs to be more awareness about trauma and how it affects us. So sometimes we're just totally unaware of it. And then two, even when we are aware of it, we are scared to address it because it's going to make us vulnerable. We think it's going to make us weak. We don't know how we're going to end up on the other end of that process. So the easiest thing to do is to hide it from people because, you know, we don't want to embarrass ourselves, and we don't necessarily want to challenge it because we're afraid of the unknown.
I've got to tell you, that is the truest thing. One of the things, which is a different kind of abuse, but it is abuse all the same, is abuse in the family, sexual abuse. It's one of those things that I grew up with, and I used to believe as a kid that it didn't happen in black families, that it only happened in white families. And as I've got older, of course, and I've realized that a lot of the trauma that we experience, and I'm talking predominantly about Asians, Africans, Caribbeans now, we spend so much time, and it came up last week, Curtis, didn't it? But you don't tell people your business. You don't express, and then what I'm discovering, and you tell me how this speaks to you, Lee, that actually it allows it to grow, to manifest, to multiply, and the trauma is compounded. When did you get to a point, because you didn't answer this part of it, have you, I'm asking you a question I kind of know the answer to, just tell us about your journey to therapy.
So my journey to therapy came to me when I started to repeat certain behaviors. I found myself in cycles around relationships. I found myself in cycles around how my anger would manifest itself. Sometimes the smallest little thing could trigger my anger for me to do something, and so huge, like it was, you know, it was way bigger than the situation itself. And I used to think, like, why do I get so angry? It's like almost like turning into the Incredible Hulk. So there was a point where I addressed it because I felt like there was a danger that I could end up in a space with this where there's no return. And one day, I was living next door to a therapist, and I just knocked her door and said to her, I need to speak to somebody. And she said, I can't do it, Lee, because you're my neighbor, but I can introduce you to somebody. And she did. Wow. And I spent a year with this woman, this therapist, unraveling. And at that point, I didn't connect any of what I was going through to the incident which happened. I saw them as separate. And the day the woman said to me, tell me a little bit about your childhood, and I started to talk about what happened to my mum, the emotion that came up, I was like, I didn't even know that was sitting inside of me. You know, I spent the most of that session just sobbing about what happened. And then we was able to connect all the dots in terms of what happened, what I witnessed. You know, that was the first time I experienced any type of violence. You know, I had this man screaming and shouting at me and pointing a gun at me. And, you know, I've been sitting with that. And I was this angry child who responded. And I realized that anytime I was getting upset and having these outbursts, this was the 11-year-old child playing itself out. So because I hadn't dealt with that, it's just always sitting there in me. And that realization changed a lot for me. It was a big game changer.
Is therapy a good thing?
So I'm going to speak from my own experience. Therapy was a huge game changer for me in terms of now how I process things, how I deal with things. I don't think I would have even been able to have dealt with this case in the way that I've dealt with it if I didn't go through all the therapy that I went through.
And that speaks to the question I was asking Paulette earlier about, and it came up last week with education, about how we present ourselves, how we frame our arguments, how we present our cases. I've got to say, I could have done the whole hour with you. Yeah. And I knew that when I spoke to you, and I applaud you, I celebrate you, I champion. I think what you've done is magnificent. I think the way you put yourself across, you've come from a place that must have been incredibly challenging, because I can imagine at times you hated everybody and everything. I say to people, please go and buy the book, support it. We haven't talked about the riots at all, and I don't think we're going to, actually, because I think, you know, your story, Lee, is much more compelling. Thank you for coming on. The other reason I'm going to stop it is because I've got to leave Robert Elm something to talk to you about at 10 a.m. tomorrow. Yeah, don't worry. They're watching. Paul is watching. They just told me that You're going to be on the podium. So look, you're going to be
ask
listed
different
Londoner.
questions.
Yeah,
You
no, we
ask
will
different
ask different questions, but he
Yeah,
will
yeah,
take you
yeah.
on a journey. So don't be sidetracked by the Mockney. He will take you on a journey, and he will be very much aware of 1985. I think it often gets overshadowed by the events of 1981, but certainly really important in London history. Lee, God bless you. Thank you for coming onto the show. I really do appreciate it, and I wish you the very best of luck. Thank you very much. So, Lee Lawrence, the louder I will sing. Thanks for coming on to hashtag no joke. Let's get the boss lady on then, please, and find out a little bit of what's been said. Boss lady.
Hello. Hello, everybody.
Hello, boss lady. Welcome back.
Thank you. Lots of comments about Lee Lawrence. Enough respect. Loads of people have just gone out to buy his book. So that's great support. Just a quick reminder of what his book is. The Louder I Will Sing. Go out, please support it and buy it. Pablo says, what a heartfelt story and a well-deserved award, sir. Monica says, Lee, you could so easily have gone the other way. What amazing strength. I salute you. Louise says, so sad that you had to wait until your mother passed to get justice. Wendy says, excellent read. This should urge us to all document all of our adversities that we have encountered. Lola says, too many deep-seated unresolved trauma. Doris said, I wonder what motivated Lee to write this book. And lastly, Eddie, many people talking about the trauma. And Sandy says, must have a show on trauma. So many families out there with unresolved issues. And that was a lot in the comments. Enough respect for Lee for detailing his experience. It's helping other people.
Thank you very much, boss lady. We've got about 10 minutes. I'm going to try and rush 35 minutes into 10. If everybody can just be patient with us, we'll do another 10 minutes. So the trauma thing, I mean, Amina, I think really hit home for me after Grenfell. It triggered a lot in me. I think my whole team had to go, and mine took a little longer, but I did go. When you see people screaming in the streets, I was there as the smoke was still coming from the building. I saw the trauma on the firefighters. It speaks a lot to your question, but I'm guessing that you see that too, right?
Unfortunately, the job that I do sometimes, when I show up at your door, it's normally because something traumatic has happened, whether you're at the end of it or you're at the beginning of that stage, whether you were the perpetrator or the victim. And just very briefly, it was the 20th anniversary of the Arab Spring just a couple weeks ago. And the young man who's setting himself alight, who started that process in Tunisia, I had the chance to sit with his mom. And she was the tears, she'd been crying for days when we arrived. And I said to the interpreter, is she okay with us filming this, with us being here? I feel like I'm intruding on a very personal moment. And he said, in our culture, we want people to see. We want them to know that she's in pain, that she's hurting, because his death would mean nothing if people can't see the impact. And I think sometimes that's what we need. You need to almost rip that Band-Aid off for people to understand and unpick that it might be difficult and uncomfortable in that moment, but you can't heal without that. You can't heal without an honest assessment of what's gone on. And the first day I went down to shoot at Grenfell, I couldn't even focus the camera. To see something on the news and to see it in real life, night and day, gentlemen, night and day.
I got to tell you, it's the story that's impacted on me emotionally more than any story I've covered in the 18 years I've been on BBC Radio London. It's real. But on that trauma thing, I mean, we will do it. We will do it. I'm looking at domestic abuse. We will do it. And just before we move on to something lighter, there Lee was talking about 1985. 1981 was a big year because much of the time we think about it in terms of the Brixton riots, but something precipitated those riots. And next week, I don't know how yet, but we will be marking the Deptford fire because that happened January 18th, if my memory serves me rightly, of 1981. So it'd be 40 years of that particular thing. We'll mark it. I mean, I know Curtis is looking at me like, Ed, come Come on, I want to be happy. I'm broke, and you're just making
you're
me
good.
more miserable. But
No,
these
you're good.
are
I
big
didn't know
things
it's
for us.
40 years, man. When you put it like that, it's 40 years.
40 years. So look, I'm going to try and bring Paulette back in because I'm now going to. We've got a couple of things to talk about, right? Two things same time. I'm sure you can handle it listening at home. First thing is the song "Fix Up Yourself," Paulette. Right. First thing is I want a lockdown. So there's a woman at work, lovely woman, is in problems. We're trying to make up a playlist for her. A lockdown survival playlist. If you're listening, I want one song. I'm going to put the whole playlist up, and then we can make our hashtag no joke lockdown survival playlist. So what's the one? I know some of you are going to take this for people like Gail, Anika, John. I know you lot don't listen to rules. I want one song for your lockdown survival. That's one. And the other thing, which is why I'm bringing Paulette back in, dating during lockdown. A woman told me this week she had to get a negative test to date a brother during lockdown one. I'm like, what's a negative test? You mean for sexually trans? No, I mean for the virus, Ed.
Yeah.
What? Right.
Makes
Okay.
sense.
So you can do that. First thing you need to know, most important thing you need to know on a date. Right. So we've got a couple of things, 10 minutes. Boss lady, you can feed them in. You can come in when you like. We're going to have anarchy. We're going to pretend we're in Capitol Hill in that building there for the next 10 minutes. We'll do what we want. We'll mess it up. Paulette, can I hear you? No. Right. So until we can hear Paulette, you might have to write on pieces of paper and hold it up like you're a hostage. Yeah, that's right. Gosh, I've got so many things I want to do. My head is buzzing.
Well, just do one at a time, man.
No, I've got it. While you think of what your lockdown survival tune is, and the one thing you have to know about somebody on a date. The most important question that you can ask somebody on a date. While we do that, we're in the middle of a pandemic, and I just want to let you know, I'm a bad man, right? But when it comes to vaccination and injection, I'm not really good. Her Majesty the Queen, the Duke of Edinburgh, a combined age of 276, they had their injection yesterday, right? I'm proud of them. But Curtis, even as a bad man, I've got to tell you, this is how I would be if I had to go in for the vaccination.
Ini apa?
Apa tuh?
Itu masih swabnya loh. Terus ya biar nggak kerasa, makanya nengoknya ke sana. Ih, Bando. Oh, terus. Duh. Udah kayak ngomong diapa kayak mau dipotong aja. Sini, Pak. Ya, gitu aja ya. Jangan bengkok gini, nanti jatuh ke ini bengkok. Jarumnya. Nengok sana.
Wait for it. Wait for it.
Jangan apa? Jangan goyang. Jangan goyang.
I'm not good with the needles there. I'm like, last time I went, there were 4 of them around me. I'm terrible.
Oh, really? You're that bad?
Probably like, please help me. Right, let's start with you because I'm going to find out if we can hear Paula in a second. Let's start with you, Amina. Right? Let's go for our lockdown survival song first of all.
Lockdown by Coffee.
Oh, actually, that's very good. You see, she came out with that. It's done very, very well, hasn't it? And she's like the biggest female artist, I would say, in Jamaica.
Coming out of Jamaica right now. And I think she did it around July. So it's even more apt now that the UK is in lockdown 15 or whatever they've got us in right
Can we have a little rendition?
The mic doesn't work. Tell him the mic doesn't work.
The mic's cutting out.
And last thing I read this morning, because it was this morning, was that Rita Marley's not dead, and the son and the male have had to apologize because that she passed away. Yeah, so that's interesting. Paulette, please speak. Please tell me I can hear you. Come on, Paulette. Fight it.
Rattle your wrist, Paulette. Rattle your wrist.
No, it's not working. Well, we know she's there. You know, I tried. Curtis, what have you got on your lockdown survival?
My lockdown survival is boring as hell. It's my go-to track for my mental health is Golden Jill Scott. And that is my tune. Track. That is my lift-up tune.
What, bigger than Family Reunion? I love Family Reunion.
Bigger than that, for me. This is the one I go to.
It's you. I apologize. I
Yeah,
don't want to.
but you can have your list and do your list. But you ask me a question and then you try to tell me a song that's better than my song. What's the point? Why don't you just tell me what song to say then? Huh?
You're not even ignorant. You're ignorant.
All the time. Every time you ask me a question, you tell me how wrong I am.
You're moaning.
All right, what's your song, Eddie?
Nah, don't worry about me. Yeah, I don't care about it. You're trying to take my time.
What you do, Donald Trump now? He ain't going to turn up now. You have your Donald Trump moment.
Oh, no. Boss lady.
Hello.
What have you got?
Hello.
What have you got? Yours.
Oh, mine. Well, mine is a really good feel good song that I always get up and dance to. It's Black Coffee, Superman.
Good song.
Oh,
that's
good
my
song,
one. Good rhythm. Always puts me in a good place.
Yeah.
I'd go for Superwoman, Karen White. I like that one.
Karen White, that's a big tune.
I'm not your superwoman. I'm not the kind of... No? Okay.
That you can let down and think that everything's okay.
Because I am only...
You gotta do the hands.
Right. All right, boss lady, everyone has sung a bit. Now your turn.
I can't sing, Eddie. You know I can't sing. Otherwise, I'd be a singer. Sorry. Anyway. Eddie, we've got lots of responses to the playlist. In terms of the dating, everybody's saying, where would you go? There's not much. They're just saying, where would you go?
On Zoom.
Not
everybody's people are dating, you know. People are dating on Zoom, on the social media. They are.
Well,
all your friends, you know your friends are dating, boss lady.
My friends are married, Ed. Bye-bye.
No, they're not. No.
But some of them have married
single and giving you advice to make you single as well.
Anyway, lots of records for this lockdown playlist. Natural Mystic, Lean on Me, Hard Times, Redemption Song, I Will Survive.
Oh, there you go.
Change is Gonna Come.
Okay.
Again.
Optimistic.
Good one. Very good one. Sounds
No Woman No Cry.
No, oh gosh.
Before I Let You Go.
Some of these are a bit deep, boss lady.
It's the mood you put them in, Eddie.
May's We Are One.
Ah, big tune. We are
Happy
one.
People. Happy People.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's a good one.
That's a good playlist, isn't it?
I like that. Yeah. Lovely day.
We Shall Overcome. Eddie, you going to sing that one for us?
No, my mum. I'll go and get my mum to sing. I'm going to record my mum singing. We shall overcome.
Yes.
And lastly, Best is Yet to Come.
Best is yet to come.
Wonderful.
So that was a good playlist because people are linking it to lockdown and talking about times after lockdown.
Yeah, but the first part of that list sounded very dour, like they don't believe. That's the mood they were in.
Yeah, we're in a moment. We're definitely in a moment. Boss lady.
Now you've just given Mastermind the tunes to play tonight. I bet you.
He
won't. Mastermind. Do a little list.
Lewis doesn't take any telling. He gives everybody else instructions and doesn't listen himself. Boss lady, is there any advice you've got to give people, whether now, remotely? Some people are going through computer love. no booty calls, service providers. A date. One thing that people should find out, you think, on a date.
Where that person is living and who they are living with.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Thank
you very much. You talk about me taking it to a dark place. Okay, so you see what you're encouraging her to do.
No, but that's a good point. Who are they living with?
Who you're living with, I need to know your environment and where you're living.
But hold on a minute, I'm living with my mother. What does that mean?
How old are you?
30 in June.
Oh, no, sorry. Next
Is
one.
it June, Eddie?
My birthday.
It's June.
Yeah, it's not June at the minute, it's January.
No, I thought you were 30 in February, but it's June. Okay.
Bye-bye. Merry Christmas.
Merry
Thank
Christmas,
you,
bye-bye.
boss lady.
Thank you.
Thank you
Bye-bye,
so much.
everybody.
You
Thank
don't,
to
you don't,
everyone who's listening.
how's your
Everybody.
skipping coming on?
I've got some really good tips, Eddie. Apparently, I'm bouncing too high and I'm moving my hands too much, so I need to just bounce and not jump too high. I was
so much
watching
I could say to that. You're bouncing too high and moving your hand. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Have a lovely week, everybody. Bye-bye.
Amina, it's all kinds of wrong here, isn't it?
It is, and you know what's funny though? I wish I'd asked a couple people I've dated pre-lockdown, where are you living? Because some of the stuff that came out after.
Is that an important thing? Where are you living?
It really is. Like, where are you living right now? Because as soon as you hear somebody about, boy, I'm in a shared space, and I'm at my brethren at the moment. No, that we should have just X'd that out now. 3 months later down the road, I find out that you're living in shared digs. No, brethren, this isn't the student hour. We would have skipped some dudes.
You see how
in
hard
that.
women are.
Wow! I don't care. As a man, I don't care where
because you're connected with an individual. I don't want to know where you're living. Oh, it's so hard.
No.
That is so harsh.
I can deal with somebody with maybe a single roommate, but this whole kind of man upon man situation, like it's a Holzer residence, no thanks. No,
you just go to one room, right?
Or the car.
You don't have to go to the room, Amina.
This is the problem. The guys come in with the shiny ride, but they don't live nowhere. I would prefer you rocked up with your oyster, but you are holding the key to your own place. Priorities, brothers, priorities.
Through your life, you've been picking too much low-hanging fruit, Amina. Or maybe you set your expectations too high.
The fruit was
and
low-hanging.
On the social media, Eddie, you can put any background behind you that you want. So you could be living anywhere she likes. This is my palace.
So right now, in this all new dating bit online, you all need to do the Zoom tour. Come on, give me a little. Show me around. Show me around.
Okay. Is that what you've been doing, Amina?
Oh.
I am off, man, because you are the devil.
Okay.
Eddie, I took it to you there.
I love you. I see something blossoming between you and Curtis. I think you recognize him. You see him for what he is, and that gives you a lovely opportunity to develop a relationship. God bless you, Amina. Thank you again for doing this. Yes, look after yourself, my darling.
Thank you, Amina. Bye.
Thank you so much.
Oh, Eddie, well done. The Gremlins are on today, boy.
They are, but we fought them. Paulette, magnificent. Although we have to get her drunk and get some of the good stories out of her.
Yeah, you have to get her back on once you send the social media mafia around to fix her Wi-Fi.
But it's not allowed anymore. Have you seen all those people doing things online where they're going to other people's
Yes, Eddie,
houses?
I was walking yesterday evening. There were 8 police vans in the park. People had gathered as a part of a protest, lockdown protest. But they gathered, I don't know, I'm going to guess about 300 people up at Brockwell Park here in South London. And as I was coming out, it was like Carnival was finishing, and I couldn't understand it till I got to the top of the hill, and I saw 8 police cars trying to not arrest people, but I suppose get names and details. They're meeting, they're drinking, they're breaking every rule. And I don't know what people need to hear to just chill. How many people need to be dead for people to say this is real?
80,000 people are dead.
80,000 at the moment, and you still want to meet up in the park and drink in a big group of people like that. I don't understand.
I think, personally, I've spoken to so many doctors and people on the front line in ICU this week, and I honestly believe that right now they should let me and you, just so anybody, because all those people filming the corridors, right? You don't get intensive care treatment in a corridor. Yeah, you don't get it in a corridor. Let us go into the hospital. Let me into a hospital right now. They've put this blanket ban on it. They don't want people to do it. Let me go in. I've spoken to Professor Kevin Fenton. I've spoken to so many people who work there who I know outside of radio, who I trust. And they say that we're in a bad moment, state of emergency. Sorry, it's not a state of emergency. I keep calling it a state of emergency. Major incident here in London. I don't know.
But
Curtis,
I think if you check it, because there were a few camera shots of patients. One young lady who had twins and had to be, she didn't know anything about the birth. She was suffering from COVID and she had twins, hadn't met them, and she was a denier. She confesses she didn't believe in it, she didn't respect it, and nearly lost her life over it. It's those kind of stories I think people need to get out there, because I do not understand why a group of people want to meet up in the park and still drinking and socializing like nothing's going on. It's real. It's real,
Is anybody paying you to say it? No, because this is the point that we've got to, right? With Donald Trump, fake news or whatever. They can accuse me of being in the pay of the BBC, so I wouldn't really be allowed to say anything. But I've had it in my house. I've waited the 6 hours for the ambulance. I've seen what happens. I've had it in my house. So what do you think it would take for those who don't believe to believe, Curtis?
I'm not sure. I just think it's that conspiracy theorist attitude of it's not happening. And for me, I had a friend who had it really early doors. A kind of young guy had it early doors. So, and again, with my mum being here, it made me a lot more aware of it and respected it. If people haven't got that around them, they're living alone, they're young, they're fit, they're healthy, it's really hard to tell them it's not happening. I'm going to tell you yesterday, the last thing I'm going to say, took my mum to get her glasses, tested reading glasses, left her in the car. It was cold, so I left the car running. I ran into the opticians, picked up the glasses, came back. There is a woman sitting in the driver's seat of my car, and my mother was sitting in the back. And I've gone to my car and said, "Excuse, get out." Oh. And I said to my mum, why? She's a friend of my mum, I hadn't seen her for years. Is sitting in the car. You still believe that foolishness? And this was 2 days ago, Eddie. You still believe that foolishness? I said, yes. And I had to sanitize the car seat, the steering wheel. And I'm asking my mum in front of her, what did she touch? What did she touch? And I'm doing that. And
but you look like you're the baddie, Curtis. You're the pariah. Curtis is so rude. That boy, him so rude.
That's good for me. I gave my mum such a telling up. I told her, I tried to tell her to come out. That's all I know. But my mum had her mask on and all of those things. But people who don't respect it don't come into our space. If we're respecting it, don't come into our space.
Lock her in the car, Curtis. That's got to be a punishment.
I think that's illegal.
Take her somewhere. No, it ain't illegal. Lock her in the car. Yeah, take the they put the thing on the steering wheel, put her hand in it and put it on there. Yeah, wind up the window so she can't have none of her wayward friends come and
I believe that foolishness. I couldn't believe it.
Did you see Drizzle? Drizzle put something up, the comedian. He didn't really believe it. It only affected him because he said he's lost his smell and taste, and it's weird because he can't smell or taste his weed.
But unfortunately, seems like the reality. Until it's affecting you, you don't believe in it. It's so sad. So sad.
Yeah. Listen, my brother, God bless you.
Stay healthy, man.
We got to. You tried to pack too much in the show, so we have to cut it down. God bless you, my brother. Take it easy. Thank you so much, Curtis Walker. There. So look, we're coming to the end of another one. Apologies for it's gone way past the hour. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry about Jazzy, and I'll give him a call. But thank you to Lee, thank you to Paul, and thank you to Amina. Special thank you to Boss Lady, and of course Curtis Walker. We need your help. I want to stay up as long as we possibly can, and in order to do that, £5 or £2, £1 GoFundMe. Buy a T-shirt. I had a mask here. I don't know where I put it. A T-shirt, a mask, or you can, if you run a business, and we can help you by putting an ad on like Mastermind, or like SEMA with Andy, or Little Bird with Alison. Then help us stay on. If you like it, then help us stay on. Otherwise, we won't be able to. Because as I say, you know, we've got people helping us now. It looks better, sounds better. We get better guests and better subjects, but we need your support. So if you can, then I would really appreciate it. Now, from tomorrow, just quickly, I'll start a challenge for charity, although I haven't worked out which one. And it is I'm going to be doing 100 press-ups for 100 days. It won't be at one point. I'm going to do that for 100 days. And then on hashtag no joke or somewhere, I'm going to show you how at my age, I can do 100 continuous press-ups. It's part of my effort to stay fit. I might even have to have some of those cauliflower wings because I, like some of you, have put on a little COVID weight. And I want to be ready for when those doors open again. So thank you very much. I promise you we will get Paulette back, because I can see how many comments there were about Paulette. And she has a story for everything, honestly. So God bless you. Please stay safe. Do what you need to do to keep yourself and your family safe. And God spare our lives. We will be back here next week with hashtag no joke.
www.thelegendarymastermind.com for uninterrupted street. Go and get something quick.